You ever find yourself sticking with a plan that you know is failing? Pouring more and more effort into something that just isn't working out? It's that awful sinking feeling of throwing good money after bad. It's something we all do, and it turns out there's a really powerful psychological reason for it. So let's dive into this fascinating trap our brains set for us.
So what's the deal here? Why is it that we so often double down on a bad choice, even when all the evidence, our gut, maybe even our friends, are all screaming at us to just stop?
Okay, let's make this real. Picture this. You've invested your time, your money, your heart and soul into a new project. Could be a business idea, a renovation, you name it. But then you start seeing the red flags. The warning signs are popping up everywhere. Now, the logical move, it's to cut your losses and walk away, right? But is that what we actually do?
To really understand why we just refuse to walk away, we got to look at this landmark study with a fantastic name, Knee-Deep in the Big Muddy. This is where the science behind our own stubbornness really starts to make sense.
So let's go back to 1976. A researcher named Barry M. Staw comes up with this brilliantly simple experiment. Get this, he's going to give people a project that is literally designed to fail from the start. Why? To uncover a super powerful and often totally irrational bias in how we all make decisions.
The setup was just beautiful in its simplicity. Okay, so everybody gets the same failing project. But here's the twist. He tells one group that they've already invested a ton into it, and he tells the other group they've only invested a little bit. Then comes the big question. Are you going to invest more to try and save it, or are you going to cut your losses right now? And the result was absolutely shocking, totally counterintuitive. The people who were told they had already invested the most were the exact same people who were most likely to throw even more resources at this doomed project. They just kept digging deeper, even when all logic said to stop. And that, right there, perfectly explains the idea at the heart of all this. It's a phenomenon called escalation of commitment. It's this deep psychological trap where the sheer weight of what we've already put in, our sunk costs, just pushes us to keep going. We don't want to feel like we were wrong, so we just keep digging, hoping we can somehow turn a failure into a win.
Now, this isn't just some weird thing that happens in a lab. It has huge, real-world consequences, especially in high-stakes situations like a negotiation. And in that world, it's a real double-edged sword.
You see, in a negotiation, understanding this bias is like having a superpower. You can use it as a weapon against an opponent who just can't let go of their position, but just as important, you can use it as a shield to protect yourself from making a really bad deal.
It really does cut both ways. On one hand, if you can tell that the person across the table has already invested months of their time and a ton of political capital into getting a deal done, you know they're going to be really hesitant to walk away with nothing. That gives you leverage. But on the other hand, and this is probably the most important part, you have to learn to recognize that feeling in yourself. That little voice inside that says, "But I've already come so far." Spotting that trap in your own thinking is step one to not getting taken advantage of.
So all of this brings us to a really powerful, kind of new way of thinking about what it means to succeed. It's not always about pushing through. Sometimes it's about having the wisdom to know when to stop. It's about finding strength in stopping.
Let's just sit with that for a second, because it really gets to the core of everything. We're always told that persistence is key, that quitting is for losers. But this research points to something completely different. It suggests that sometimes the real strength, the real strategic move, is knowing when to say, "That's enough."
So the ultimate takeaway here is incredibly empowering. Walking away from something that's failing isn't an admission of defeat. No. It's a conscious, strategic decision to take your most valuable resources, your time, your money, your energy, and put them towards something that actually has a future. It's not weakness, it is a profound act of strength.
And that leads me to one last question, a personal one for you. As you think about your own life, your job, your projects, maybe even your relationships, what failing project is it time for you to strategically walk away from?